Welcome into the Motivation Congregation Studios on a 9:10 p.m. on a Wednesday evening. We have an extra special guest here this evening. He's someone that is a living Jewish superstar. He's the up-and-coming talent that most of you know. And if some of you don't know, you can Google him on your kosher phones and figure out who he is. But his name is none other than Rabbi Hillel Eisenberg. He's actually an old friend of mine, and he's an impressive person beyond. When I think of young up-and-coming B'nai Aliyah and motivational speakers, I think of him. Rabbi Eisenberg, welcome into the Motivation Congregation.
It's a pleasure to be here. It's a pleasure.
Do you know that when I say Rabbi Eisenberg, I actually think more of your favorite brother, who is the chief rabbi of Norfolk, Virginia, where I'm from. Are you aware of that?
Yes. Yes, they recently told me. Although he's been there for many years, they recently told me.
Did you tell him that you're going to come into the Motivation Congregation?
I actually did not.
Did you not tell him?
I did not yet tell him, no.
Are you close with your brother?
Yes, sure.
Do you know that your brother is taking the Norfolk community and wrapped it up into this beautiful package and taking it to spiritual heights like never before?
I've heard such echoes. I've heard echoes of such things.
You've been to the community. You see what's going on down in Norfolk, Virginia.
I think it's great.
And here,
it's a model community.
Before we get into the name of the evening, which is going to be a motivational, inspirational, and meaningful talk about the time period of Elul. And you're a motivational speaker. You should have some encouraging things to say to the audience. We got to take care and pay some bills to the sponsors of the show. And before we jump in, I'm going to give a shout out to our sponsor of this special Elul interview by Mr. Yehuda Rubin of Rub's Excavation. I told him I'd write him a script. Elul is a time to strengthen our foundations. And when your next construction project needs a strong foundation, you should call Rub's Excavation. Serving New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and Delaware, Rub's Excavation provides professional excavation site work, clearing, grading, demolition, septic systems, utility, trenching, and emergency sewer and water repairs. Whether you're a contractor, developer, property manager, or homeowner, Rub's brings the precision, reliability, and the experience needed to keep your project moving on time and on budget. For your next project, call or text 908-98-RUBS at Rub's Excavation, building the foundation for success.
Great.
Now paying those bills, taking care of the sponsors. Hillel, maybe tell the listeners about like 70 seconds to 90 seconds about who you are, where you are. I know you, but picture you're explaining your hectic schedule on what you do for your 9 to 5 to someone who just met you. Go.
That's a good question. What I do, or where am I, my background?
I want everything. Where were you born? What do you do? What do you do during the day? So people know exactly who you are. Everything about you.
So I'm originally from Rochester, New York, way up where penguins roam the earth. And I was sent at age 13 to Ner Yisrael in Baltimore, where I learned for many years.
Sounds like against your will.
No. It was definitely
like a concentration camp.
Willingly.
Yeah.
And there I learned. I got a little glimpse of the brisker Mahalach in Eretz Yisrael, learning by Rav Moshe Soloveitchik for a year. And then I came to Lakewood, where I was pretty much like everyone else for a while, until I stumbled into an office once where there was a man by the name of Aaron Grossman who runs an organization called JX, Jewish Experience, which basically is involved in all kiruv operations in the Northeast. And he said, "You want to be a guinea pig?" I'm like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, I think you could be a guinea pig." I was like, "I don't know what you're talking about." So to boil it down briefly, they were looking for somebody to go to Princeton University, which is drivable. And it piqued my interest because I wasn't so interested in going roller skating with college kids and drinking and whatever. It's very high level. So basically, the smartest kids in the world are learning there.
Yeah, Ivy League, right?
Yeah, it's an Ivy League. And it offered me the opportunity to start giving classes there. So I jumped at that. And that sort of opened up my career in giving classes and speeches. Eventually, I left after Princeton. I was there for around a year. I eventually left, and
you're living in Lakewood and driving every day to Princeton?
Yeah, but it's like 45 minutes.
Okay.
But it wasn't every day. It was, a couple times a week. We would go for Shabbos. We would have an apartment there. We would make Shabbosim.
So you're married. You're married.
Yeah, I'm married at this point. Obviously, we have all sorts of fascinating, colorful characters we've met and professors we've got to know and friends we've made. And it was an amazing experience. I actually have made many videos about my experience in Princeton, which we could talk about those videos.
Definitely will.
Shortly. Now, for the most part, I'm doing a lot of writing, a lot of podcasting, a lot of interviewing, a lot of video making.
You're crushing it.
A lot of projects.
He's being humble. I've read The Parasha on Fire, which is his magnum opus and bestseller.
Yeah, we have others up and coming through Art Scroll, luckily. It takes a little bit longer when you deal with it.
You're unbelievable.
I'll tell you, let's talk about that because I think that actually is inspiring for a lot of people. Probably in 10th grade, I started collecting what I called interesting ideas. Now, everyone has a different definition of interesting ideas, but they were interesting to me. And I would have a little notebook that I kept in my pocket and a pen and paper. But I didn't limit it to like my Rebbe said an interesting pshat. It was like I passed by a billboard and it had an interesting statistic. I wrote it down and I had absolutely no idea why. I just did it. I was collecting. And then every Motzei Shabbos, I would take that notebook and organize it into different categories. I liked it. I'm a Yeki. And I liked being organized. I knew in the back of my head that I would be in some form of Klei Kodesh and Chinuch. Did I know I would be,
doing what you're doing?
I don't know. I knew that there's no way to know at age 15 you're going to be. I spoke at a hotel program at age 25. Was there any way I would know that? No, of course not. But I knew it would be good for me to have that, ideas.
Information was going to help you somewhere.
Right. So two things happened because I did that. Number one, fast forward to 25 when I'm beginning sort of my career in giving over and speaking and classes and writing. Number one, I have an arsenal that's categorized. So that helps a lot. But way, way more importantly is I've trained my eyes to look at the world as a world that's talking to me, a world filled with messages. Every single billboard I could make an hour speech about. Every single one. Okay, Coke, even Coke. Everything. Every single time I go into the store, I walk out with a mushal that I could give a 45-minute lecture about.
Unbelievable.
Why? Not because I'm anything special, just because if you train your brain to filter the world through the lens of it's talking to you, and there's a mushal and an imshal.
Do you still have that notebook?
I have 10,000 of those such notebooks.
How large is it really 10,000? How big is the notebook? It's huge.
No. It's these like you buy in
sticky notes, something?
Not sticky notes. No, miniature like flip over notebooks. But I went through thousands of them, and I still do it. I don't do it through notebooks. I could just voice note it into and filter it. And I encourage anyone to write things down. You never know. Even if one is not going into Harbatzas Torah, I think it's hugely pathetic if somebody is 40 and sits in the sukkah and he has nothing to say. It has to scramble during Mariv to a sefer to look up something. No,
come on, Dad. Find something. And even not in Torah, in anything that you're doing, if you want to be great at it, take notes about things. Be smart. Be worldly. Be educated. And certainly with Torah, where you're obligated. Come on. What was your big break?
Great question. So there's a line I like out there. It's
from the Notebook.
I don't know if it's from the Notebook, but the line is that it takes 20 years of practice to become an overnight success.
Steve Jobs.
Steve Jobs?
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't know.
Apple took 20 years of
right
to become an
so there was no real break. What it was is I got a call from a shul in Aberdeen, which is 45 minutes from here. We have a Thursday night Mishmar program. People from the community come. Can you give a little half-hour speech? It's largely senior citizens, immensely unthreatening. And I would go a lot. And I would polish myself there. In every audience you'll be in, or you speak to, there is someone in the audience who's connected to somebody who makes a phone call and says, this guy is great. So that's what happens. Someone made a phone call to someone who said, this shul's looking, can you come and speak?
And that was it. Somebody made a phone call.
It happens to be. Now, I've worked on myself and it's, I believe, was good content. But there's not that much competition. And I know it sounds crazy. What are you talking about? There's this scramble. I will prove this to you. I've been doing hotel programs for quite some time. And one recently, I think it was last Sukkot, we just wanted to take a break. Like, we wanted to be part of our family. And I had to decline an offer. And they said, okay, fine, no problem. Can you find a replacement? It has to be someone who can't take up like 9 rooms. You know what I mean? Like, we're not moving by friends' entire family. It has to be someone who's, relatively young, but dynamic and passionate and gets it and with it. Like, we have already the old sage. We're looking for the youthful young guy who's with it, but like geschmack and unapologetically Torah-dik. And I said, well, let me find it. I start calling people. No one's either lack of interest, lack of confidence, lack of skill.
Really?
I don't want them. I'm not sure. My wife. I thought I would get like this. This is
2,000 speakers on Torah anytime. Just go through. No, I mean,
it had to be someone within the Tri-State area, and it had to be. They were looking for somebody who could only take up 1 or 2 rooms.
Right, like younger guy.
So it had to be a younger guy. But I was talking. Forget about speaker. I thought in Lakewood, like this is a career altering opportunity.
Yeah, Torah links.
But I was saddened a little bit that there wasn't that much interest, but I was also encouraged that those that are doing this work, first of all, need to step up and do it, continue more. The younger, more worldly people who are unapologetically Torah-dik, who can speak eloquently, have a tremendous achrayus in today's day and age. As the more yeshivish people get more yeshivish, and the rest of Klal Yisrael get either less yeshivish or stay the same, there's going to be a void of leaders who can, speak eye to eye to the sort of hamonam. So
it's also, I don't think people understand that it is. You'll correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you'll agree that when you go out and you speak and you are interested in helping and sharing, the person who gains the most is you yourself. Do you not find yourself, because you have to come up with something to say, or you're interested in it and it becomes something that you have to share, that now your mind gets lost in positive Torah concepts, right? And every person, I got this advice from Rabbi Wolbe when I said I wanted to start a podcast, and it's totally free to start a podcast. And my wife and my mom are the only 2 that listen. But he told me, remember, it's only it's most helpful for you. You're going to gain the most. When you have to come up with something to say, you now have to crystallize the vart, the idea, and say it and prepare it, and it's not abstract, especially now that it's so simple and it's free. There used to be gatekeepers. In that, in order to get a gig to speak in a shul, you had to be a maggid, or you had to travel. You can literally put your AirPods on and you can record yourself, and you could send a WhatsApp voice note, and you can help someone and you can provide value, right? It's totally free. It's totally.
No question.
Okay, so now you got your big break. You travel the world now. What do you do? What's your 9 to 5? Talk to me. Tell the people the truth. Because you're in Princeton.
There's so many facets here.
What do? You wake up in the morning. It's Monday at 9 a.m. You drop your kids off at Mora.
So
that's your wife drops the kids off at Mora.
At this exact moment, I basically work on books and videos and interviewing people and podcasts.
You are
and films.
Full-time content creator, distributor.
Correct. Now,
which is what everybody wants to do.
I get hired by various organizations to create videos for them, inspirational videos. So, for example, ArtScroll's putting out a book. They will hire me. They just hired me today.
Wow, congratulations.
Well, no. I didn't mean they hired me today. Meaning they hire me. It's an ongoing, meaning they will call me up and say, we're putting out a new book.
Okay.
And they had an in-house meeting and realized with their actuaries that they're putting out ads, full-page ads in every newspaper in the Jewish world. It costs hundreds of thousands of dollars per week. If we pay Hillel Eisenberg $250 to take one story out of one chapter of an upcoming book and have a little bit of AI or a little
video, a little graphics,
and it could
free. Well, it's not free. Pay you $250.
It goes around the world, right? So they shifted a lot towards that.
I've been a big believer in that digital advertising is way undervalued,
and
picture graphic in magazines and paper is terrifically overpriced. So anyway, I'm glad to hear that the big companies see it that way.
Definitely, the organizations are leaning in that direction more and more. So that takes up,
So you're in the morning, you go to your study and start plugging away, opening the notebook.
Right. I mean, there's a lot of like learning that has to be done for some of the books that I'm writing.
You need to prepare.
Right. I mean, a lot of the books that I'm writing are addressing sort of the basics of the moyadim, but delivering and packaging the explanations in a digestible, entertaining way.
Beautiful.
So you got to really be well versed in Maral and Rav Hirsch and
there it is.
The basics.
You see my Rav Hirsch section?
Yes.
See it?
Yeah. I mean, we could have a whole podcast about Rav Hirsch.
We have up there. We should, by the way. I have the old Isaac Levy translation. I have the new one just because the new red leather is so beautiful and delicious, even though I like the old edition. And then I have this one is the one that's out. But then I have my Maharal over here in the corner. I got that as a anniversary present.
Nice.
So I'm pretty bullish and a little lack hubris in my Svarim collection.
Yeah, that's great.
But everyone's we'll do a Hirsch episode.
Yeah.
So those are your go-to if you're preparing a shir. You go to Maharal or Hirsch.
I have. Yeah. I mean, in the introduction to the first book that I wrote, The Parsha on Fire, I talk about how Rav Hirsch totally transformed the way I look at Torah. We could talk at length about how he completely transformed for thousands of people how to look at Torah and Yiddishkeit. And I think that ironically, his message is just as needed now as it was in Germany when he was giving it, because the same exact struggles that his community, the affluent, overly educated, slightly egotistical Germans that were looking at the Torah as ancient and dinosauric, we on a smaller scale are starting to do that. We have money. We have technology, way overly educated. We know everything, and so the Torah is like,
right,
whatever. Maybe you say a good word. You have a good gematria.
It's some cow, gourd, and ox, and Old Testament type of stuff.
Right. And even like yeshivish people, like the Torah is something you learn, but it doesn't like shape how you raise your kid. Like it doesn't like you don't stand in the kitchen and then the philosophy.
You're right. No, you're totally right.
Obviously, I'm over exaggerating.
No, you're totally right. There's so much. Talmud is mevi lidei maisa. That means that your study leads to action, and if your study is in a passionate, impressive, not impressive like fancy, but impressive, meaning it's impressing upon you into Maisa, then you have to question if it's really Talmud.
Yeah, 100%. Listen, some people are in it, like, there's a reason Rav Hirsch's volume on Vayikra is like double the size of every other one, because every detail of every carbon is really Hashem conveying some message. And I'm a big believer in that. So every chelek of the Moyadim, which I'm writing a book on, Moyadim on Fire, also
on fire
is a message. And like every chelek, every halacha of Hilchos Schach is another message Hashem is sending. Some of people believe in that.
I love it. And what I called you here this evening to discuss with you is very much touching on what we're talking about now. In that Torah, in a sad way, for people has become antiquated, and they understand it as an old textbook. And then what happens and gets worse for some is that they can become sarcastic with the catechisms of the yeshiva world about Elul, and that becomes almost something that's unrelatable and only reminds them that the fish in Kelm would quake during Elul, but yet that only sometimes gets us further away from any sort of radical honesty of what Elul is supposed to be. I would like tonight, in the next 5 minutes, to change that. Now that's a little bit audacious, but to have a conversation about how you think that you see Elul, or a way that someone should see Elul. If Rav Hirsch is here and he wanted to walk in and clap down his hand and say to the holy congregation of the Motivation Congregation and anyone else who's going to listen to this, what Elul is about, Let's ask it like this. For you, when you hear the words Elul, does that send chills down your spine or make it exciting for you?
We'll be back after a quick break.
Be sure to subscribe to the Motivation Congregation on WhatsApp, where you can wake up on a highlight every single day with a Torah talk that is crafted to inspire and enlighten. You can join the broadcast list on WhatsApp and receive the videos directly to your WhatsApp inbox every single day. Plus, when you join on WhatsApp, you can stream the Motivation Congregation WhatsApp status that has all access to great newly published Sefarim book reviews. You can watch the weekly trips to the Sefarim store to stay in the know about all things of Torah literature, plus with behind-the-scenes looks, bonus content, and deep dives into great Torah sages' private lives. When we discuss them on their yard sites, there is a lot going on, and you can scroll down to find the link to join us on WhatsApp. I hope that you do, and I hope that you'll reach out and say hello. And once again, now back to the show, and I hope you enjoy the rest of this episode.
I wish I could say that Elul sends chills down my spine. It does not, but I hope to get there one day.
Or not. I mean, I'm not sure it's a good thing.
I can't speak for Rav Hirsch. What I could say is I do have many various videos on Elul. I encourage people to watch them.
Like, subscribe, rate, review, check in the show notes for the HillelEisenberg.com podcast.
I personally think they're very refreshing, but I can tell you the immediate knee-jerk reaction when it comes to Elul, my thoughts is that it has become immensely overly complicated. And what once was supposed to be a sort of practical reset to your avodas Hashem has become a very, very daunting, spiritually kind of complicated,
exhausting,
and sadly, when you are in yeshiva and depending on which shul you go to, the speeches you hear are often vague ideas about Yiras HaReimamus, and I think that those are all important, and Yiras Shamayim and Kabbalah Malchus Shamayim, and those are all important things, and they're lofty and they're great. But I think that it's sort of ignoring the largest, most obvious need during Elul, and that is, are you doing teshuva? Not are you learning how to do teshuva? Not are you learning Hilchos teshuva? Not are you learning inspiration to do teshuva? Not are you hearing lectures which are going to motivate you to do teshuva? No. Are you actually doing teshuva? Which means, very simply, did you take out a paper and a pen and write down what you need to work on, but not just what? Why is that Aveira recurring in your life? Or why don't you do X, Y, Z? Not just the what, but the why. First, address the what, because you cannot fix a problem that you don't know you have or you don't harp on. It's not possible. You could learn all the you could listen to every shir ever given on tefillah, every inspiring shir, but unless you know what the words are saying, eventually you will. It's just the inspiration will go away, and it will revert back to being the Chinese that it is. So, if you want a real connection to Selichos, so then open up an English translation, and preferably a good Pirish that you relate to. That's the only way. Like, no inspiring motivational speaker is going to help you out any more than you. If you want to work on Lashon Hara, well then write down which cubicles are speaking Lashon Hara in your company and avoid them. Meaning, here's a practical eitzah. The practical side of teshuva has been completely lost because it doesn't give you brownie points and it doesn't sound cool for a Rav to talk about it. But teshuva is in its simplest form becoming a better person. You cannot go to the mechanic and expect him to fix your car by just poring over a manual. He has to eventually, at a certain point, roll up his sleeves and pick up the hood and fix the car. It is the same thing.
It's a remarkable thing.
It's the same thing with human beings. If you want a better Shabbos, so then write down, why is Shabbos stale? What are potential practical ideas to make it less stale? One of them would be read a lot more books about Shabbos. Number two, do you get upset? Is it too hectic? Well, then you have to come home an hour early from Friday or whatever. Hire more cleaning help. My point is, if we train our brain to think practically. So one second, all of a sudden it's less daunting because like every company in the world, they have a rehash, they have a reset every year. They go through. It's not so daunting. Like it's
an audit, right? An audit.
It's
right.
not. It shouldn't be scary. Practical teshuva is the bare minimum, is the starting point. Oh, practical things. I could write down what I need to work on. I could think of ideas. I could think of why this is the why, and then perhaps implement some of the things. I think that's very underrated.
I think it's underrated. It is so deceptively simple that maybe this is too not cliche, or maybe it's too radical, or maybe not true, but you'll be the judge of that. Sometimes I feel that people will supplant actual becoming better and closer to God with the limud hamusar, and getting stuck in the consistent concept of greatness and thought and before they ever actually just do something and actually get a change. And like you're saying, it's simple to actually, it's hard, but it's really, we put on a bumper sticker one time for a Motivation Congregation ad that said the best way to start is to start. You just do it. It's that simple. What's the biggest misunderstanding that you think people have about teshuva?
I believe it's Reb Nosson Wachtfogel who said that the virtual universal knee-jerk reaction to teshuva and to Elul is to focus on your flaws and to look at all the averos that you did. And we go through every mincha and we start asking wow, I davened 365 minchas. I can't even remember one that I had come on. Maybe it's two. But he says something fascinating. It's a mistake. He says the avodah of Elul is not sor meira. The avodah of Elul is asay taiv. We never think of Elul as, wait, let me do more Bikur Chaylim. Let me do more Levayas Hameis. Let me do more in Stucco.
Totally.
It's always
keep
working
your
on
eyes glued to only good things, and make sure never to wake up late. And it's always a Sur Meirah in my head. You're right.
It's always a Sur Meirah. The knee-jerk reaction of anyone anywhere in the world is Sur Meirah. Right. I say too much Lashon Hara. Right. I look at things I shouldn't look at.
I say way
things
too much.
I shouldn't. It's always sort of like what the non-Jewish world looks at in New Year's resolution is, I'm too fat, I've had too many issues with my girlfriend, or whatever the issue is, and then I have to become a better person. Yeah. And Reb Nosson was saying it shouldn't be that way. I don't know if he meant it shouldn't be that way because it becomes overly daunting, or he genuinely believed the way to get closer to Hashem, or a way, or the way of Elul, is to asay taiv, is to let's buckle up and add another Seder during Elul. Or let's go on Fridays to visit people in Leisure Chateau or in the closest hospital near you. Or let's do Bikur. Let's invite the guests we wouldn't normally invite because they have mental health issues and it's hard and it's annoying and it's inconvenient. We're going to invite them anyway during Elul. That's never how people think, but it's a way that they should think. It's a lot less threatening.
It's so not scary.
Right. It's not depressing.
It's just
again,
more asay tov.
Is there a time and place during Elul to work on saying it's not saying Lashon? Of course, the whole al chetz or all the things that we did wrong, but lost in the daunting element of Elul is the asay taiv, and I think that Reb Nosson was trying to bring that back, and I think it's a great tool to fight sort of the depressing emotional attachment that people have to Elul. Is let's work on the positive. Let's add stuff. Let's be kinder and nicer, and your smile should be bigger during Elul.
I just love that. I can't tell you how much I love that, because I feel like a big monkey has been peeled off my back. I could do a little extra learning, or maybe, call my mom or my dad and one more time during the week. And that's a lot easier than having to change my nature and fight any sort of impulse that I have. That is, all right. So, okay. So I'm with you. So we want to do asay tov. Let's go down this rabbit hole of asay tov. I can't do every asay tov. So now I ask you the question very bluntly. If somebody could change one thing this Elul, and it's going to be in the form of asay tov, he can do more Torah, do more tefillah, do more achnasas orchim. What would you tell him to do? Which asay tov to do? Or should he do all of them? The floor is yours.
It's a good question. The answer is there's obviously not one answer to that's going to fit everyone. Everyone has to know their situation in life. I know that is not as exciting of an answer. You want me to be like, you should
give the people what they want. Give us a radical take. Give us a hot take.
I know you're looking for a hot take.
Tell us that Shaluach HaKan.
Right.
Is
exactly.
where they should be doubling 100%. Down. I just saw somebody actually has a gemach that you can go to his house and you can constantly shoo away the mother birds and do that mitzvah, which would be a nice plug to put him in here too. And then they could really double down on that asay tov. But I feel like you're not going to say that. Yeah. So,
it's important for people. It happens to be, it would actually be detrimental if I would say one thing. And I'll tell you why. I think another hugely, massively podcast worthy underrated element of Avodas Hashem is what's called mashali by chafetz. Chazal were very clear that at a certain point, one's libud Torah has to be mashali by chafetz. Are there Kabbalistic reasons and deep reasons, esoteric reasons? Perhaps. But there's also a very practical reason. Your attachment to Torah is only as much as your neshama and your brain and your upbringing allows. You will burn out. You will lose interest. You will not get that emotional, dare I say, spiritual dveikus connection to what you're doing if your heart is not in it. You could ask anyone who went into Hatzalah half-heartedly, just for the hak. It's a killer after a year. It's a killer. I'm not waking up at 2 a.m. I'm not leaving my Shabbos Suda because someone's having a heart attack. I'm not interested in it. And it actually pains. So to say this is the way is detrimental because, well, let's say somebody they can't host mental health crises.
Right.
Like that's not who they are.
And it's also interesting that many people are pulled to so many unique parts of Klal Yisrael. I always find it like there's platforms for someone who's totally gung-ho on positive speaking, and that's, great. And the Chafetz Chaim is into that. And then you're also going to have someone that's totally pro, we need to go all in on Shaluach HaKan. We need to go all in. You have people that are Parah Aduma, whatever they're doing, they're like all in. 2 years ago, I met a guy named Yosef Moshe Mizrahi. Great commercial real estate agent, and accountant as well. Great basketball player as well, too. He was involved in Torah Links. At Torah Links, he went to a Thursday night sort of Ner LF, where they brought in great speakers to empower the youth rabbinic figures to go out there and take over the world and spread God's name like Avram Avinu. And one of the evenings, it had the great Reb Shalom Kamenetsky to speak. And he came forward and was speaking about the idea of learning and sharing. And he told the following story about himself. He said about himself, so therefore it's not lashon hara to say the story, that when he was younger, he himself didn't even love to just learn Talmud for 10 hours a day. Even though his father, I believe, is a Shmuel Kamenetsky, and we would think that that's how everyone would grow up, probably in the lap of Torah luxury. That's, what they live and dream about. But when he was younger, he was kind of more rambunctious. He was more out there, interested in playing ball, or there were different parts of Torah that he liked to study that maybe weren't Gemara. His mother asked him, my dear Reb Shalom, which part of Torah is your favorite? He said, I really like Nefesh HaChaim, where it talks about the interworkings of creation, and of course Shar Daled about the greatness of Torah study and how man's free will is and Talmud Torah changes everything. And his mother said, okay, I would like to pay a chavrusa to come, and you're going to get deep down and dirty in Nefesh HaChaim. And he said what happened is that I loved it and looked forward to it, and I became so into Nefesh HaChaim that I started as like an on-ramp, getting more involved in the deeper concepts, which brought me closer into wanting to learn more about brachos and about Shabbos, which brought me back to learning Gemara, which brought me, everything really pulls into the same, unique aspect. But the highway on to the Route 66 of Torah and Talmud study is ma shali by chavet. You have to start with what you're interested in. Isn't that a fascinating story?
Amazing. Amazing.
I'm a rambunctious kid, and I don't like to sit and learn, but I asked my Rosh Hashiva what I should do for Night Seder when I was after Shana Rishona, and he also told me that what you should do, whatever will keep your backside in the chair. So I like Chumash Rashi, so that's what I learned. And my Mashali B'Chavitz, I loved learning Night Seder, and I actually did it still do it because Chumash Rashi is great and it's easy for me, and it's Mashali B'Chavitz. So I can't invest more in that topic. What's your Mashali B'Chavitz? What do you love to learn? Oh, I know what you love to learn. Probably all the whatever it is that you're learning and you're teaching. Am I wrong?
I happen to have lots of interests. I think that my Mashali B'Chavitz has changed after my introduction to the world of Rav Hirsch, because you sound like you're familiar with his Mahalach. Everything becomes fascinating. I mean, there's no technical detail. I used to think there's technical detail. There's like Agarita and there's Halacha. And Agarita is interesting, and it's all these
stories and
ideas and the hashkafas of the Torah. And then there's like, where Zrikas Hadam, like how many feet away does the Kai need to be? Right. But then you learn Rav Hirsch and you're like, it needs to be that amount of feet away because it's keneged this, and it's a mashal for this, and it's trying to give you this lesson, and it's a kapara for this.
Symbolism,
it's all symbolism. So suddenly there's now more agarata, there's more mashalim, there's more ideas in the technical stuff, and I get a great geschmack from getting a symbolism out of something that nobody in Klal Yisrael cares or realizes that it's actually a symbolism, because that is great content for speeches, because you can get up there and say, wait a minute, does anybody care to know why in the world we're pouring a jug of olive oil over someone's head? Isn't that so bizarre? Like, why would you take a kayin and pour a jug? You're taking David HaMelech and you're pouring a jug of olive oil over his head. What in the world is going on? So you look at the Mefarshim and they say nothing. You look at Rav Hirsch, he has 19 pages on it. And whatever he says there. But my point is that it pulls you in. So my Mashali B'Chavitz has been shaped by Rav Hirsch to be basically everything. There are obviously things where, like everybody, you're just not interested. You know what I mean?
Right.
Everywhere.
What's your favorite thing to speak about? If I call you right now, Mr. Rabbi Hillel Eisenberg, we want you to speak at the upcoming August Daf Yomi Siyam HaShas, and you're going to be speaking right after Reb Shmuel Kamenetsky, but right before Rav Malkiel Cutler. And it's going to be, Rabbi Radinsky is going to be giving closing remarks right before Rabbi Yisrael Newman. And then also we're going to bring Rav Dov Landau, and then you're going to, and then he's going to speak. And then, we're going to have then the extra closing remarks by you, and you're giving the floor.
In such an event, I would probably say
and you're forced to speak.
Shagas Aryeh I could find.
Oh, yeah.
And I would say a lot of Eberster Helfen Sein and a lot of.
But you also said something that's very thought provoking. There, you have basic audience awareness. That you got to. You must. No, yeah. Alavai, we all should have basic audience awareness. I always like when I'm in front of like a Hasidish. Not that I'm a speaker, but when I'm in front of Hasidish people, to like start off with like the Vilna Gaon says, and to like, something like that, where they throw tomatoes at you or whatever.
I see you asked initially if I have a go-to topic, and I do. That go-to topic is that the Torah is your friend. The Torah is the greatest blueprint to living the greatest Olam Hazeh. And I think that's sort of a lost ideology, because we look at the world that there's Torah and then there's Olam Hazeh.
Right.
But if you can prove statistically that we have the greatest Olam Hazeh, religious Jews in 2026 have the greatest Olam Hazeh statistically, and you could connect it to the Torah and how the Torah is directly responsible for the lowest crime rate in the whole world, our communities, the lowest divorce rate, the lowest abortion rate, the lowest everything rate, which I do. I have many speeches where I go through every single statistic, and it's mind-boggling.
Right.
I'm very passionate about that idea, and it actually is important during Elul, and I'll tell you why. Because there's a Gemara in Brachos that says, you want to know how to do teshuva? After it says Yefash V'Shemais, it gives a whole bunch of different avenues, but it says the ultimate avenue is La'ilam Yargiz Adam Yetzer Taiv Al Yetzer Hara. You should arouse your Yetzer Taiv against your Yetzer Hara, which essentially means nothing. What does that mean? Well, obviously, it's like telling a marathon runner, make sure to run fast. Yeah, obviously. What does it mean? Arouse your Yetzer. Again, the Yetzer Tov is in a perpetual fight against the Yetzer Hara. What do you mean arouse it? Obviously, you want to do teshuva, you got to arouse your Yetzer Tov.
Right.
So one of the explanations given, which I like, is arousing the Yetzer Tov means remind yourself that the Yetzer Tov is called the Yetzer Tov. It's Tov, meaning to do tshuva means going back to a better life. That's what it means. In Olam Hazeh, it's good. It's in your best interest. You're not sacrificing anything. There's no self-sacrifice whatsoever. It is better to have a well-trained mouth and not speak harshly. It is better for you to not look at other inappropriate images. It's better for your Olam Hazeh to have spirituality. If Shabbos is meaningful, your Olam Hazeh is better.
Thing, right.
It's Yargiz Adam Yetzer Tov means arouse the Tov in the Yetzer Tov. Remind yourself that it's better even in Olam Hazeh. There's a reason why every other nation on earth and every other religion is forever talking about the next world and kingdom come and 70 virgins that you'll get if you blow up a bus and kill yourself for Allah. The Torah mentions Olam Haba a grand total of 0 times in all of Tanakh explicitly. And it's for this reason, because it's also for Olam Hazeh. And we don't want to make the focus entirely Olam Haba at the expense of Olam Hazeh. And I think that
the great Rabbi Yerucham Levovitz, the great spiritual dean of Yeshivas Mir during the Roaring 20s, said that we say on Friday nights, Mogen Avois Bidvaro Machayim Esim B'Ma'amaro. That's how we sing it out of town. I don't know if they sing it like that and where you're from, but maybe in Rochester they do. But then we get to this point where we say, Am Medushne Oneg Zeich Lamase Bereshis. And he translated it. And I'm sure ArtScroll also does. But Am Medushne Oneg. Medushne, I put it into Gemini also to ChatGPT to translate literally, means saturated. A sponge is medushne mayim when it has water all in it, or medushne shemed. Klal Yisrael is saturated with eineg, saturated with delight, with pleasure. Where do we go so wrong that people are like, you hear people say that Judaism is restrictive. Don't you hear that? Where do they get it wrong? Because you're right. It's not. I mean, it's not that it's not. It's just, when you do it right and you do protect your eyes and you do eat right and you do wake up on time and do things, it is a beautiful life. Where do you think people go wrong? Why do people think Judaism is restrictive?
Well, if one is uneducated to a certain extent of the inner workings of Judaism, what it's trying to accomplish, what the Torah was trying to accomplish, Hashem gets nothing out of us serving him. 0. It is blasphemy to think otherwise. He gets nothing. He gave he created the world and the Torah to bestow good upon his people. Originally upon the whole world, there was a mabul, there was a Bavel, there was an issue, there was a sort of a plan B, how it worked, you can figure that out. But now it's upon Klal Yisrael. The ultimate manifestation of the goodness of Hashem is on Klal Yisrael, if you follow the Torah. But it's very difficult because, hey, I could make a lot of money, and why lock myself up with one wife if I could be with multiple wives, and alcohol at the outset and drugs to young kids. It's sort of like
definitely a little bit, I guess, more fun immediately.
Yeah, it's fun immediately. But to any thinking person, it's obviously better to be loyal to one's wife. It's obviously better to teach your kids how to read. Do you know that the Jewish people were 99% literate for 99% of our history, as opposed to the world, which was 99% illiterate for 99% of business? That's a whole different. We're living in a whole different world. We're living in a whole different planet, a planet of Tov. How many times does the Torah say over and over and over and over again? It's leman l'tov lach. It's all l'tov lach. It's for your own benefit. I get nothing out of it. But if you're sort of surface level, which again we have an epidemic of surface level people. If you're surface level, so then make money, build house, and it's like the bare minimum. You're getting the bare minimum. You are like still stuck on. You're eating candy bars at age 50 when you could be eating steak.
You know what frightens the beans out of me is that somebody who doesn't have a deep sense of religion or purpose, Judaism, but doesn't believe in a greater good and doing the right thing, then all of the pain and death and hurt and sadness is I don't know how you endure it if you don't have a sense of meaning and right and Torah. When I go through and I have a big Yisurin, let's say someone took $40,000 from me, let's say. If I believe in God and I know that God is with me, I can still shake it off and go have dinner and hang out because it's going to hurt for a day or two, but God's with me and God's probably going to get that guy back. And also it's going to work out really well for me in the next world. And also I know that it only means good. If you're not Jewish in a way that you really believe, then you just lose money and suffer for nothing.
I hear what you're saying, and you're right. Atheists don't have that, and even quasi-believers don't have that. And certainly the uptick in atheism correlates to the uptick in depression. I don't think it's a main factor, but it's a factor, perhaps. I think that religious Jews don't have that issue as much because, most religious Jews, even if they are religious Jews masquerading themselves and they're really not believers, or there's, various degrees, there's no atheist in a foxhole. And I think there is that convenient, I don't really care what Hashem says. And it's true. Everyone says that Hashem is in charge of my money, I'm just doing hishtadlus, but I'm still going to work overtime and crush every hour and not learn a night seder and do deals. Do you believe? You not believe? Do you not believe? I mean, if you really believed, the answer is I don't really believe. I'm just going to go through the motions and whatever. You know what I mean? But if I get a text during night seder, there's a deal coming in, I am out. Closed, finished. So you don't believe. So you're a kaifer. Meaning anyone who leaves night seder for a business deal is a kaifer. It's you can't put it in any other way. If
you see, that's the clickbait that we needed for this episode to work. Anybody who gets a text that there's a deal coming in during night seder
is a kaifer.
I'm not sure if I got a deal. I'm not sure if I might go out to make that deal because in my head I'm thinking I'm gonna make this deal.
This is the hishtadlus?
No, I'm gonna go make that deal and then I'll be able to sit and learn night seder.
Let me ask you something.
I'll do first seder.
Let me ask you something. Why didn't Hashem send that deal at 2 p.m?
It's a good question.
Yeah, the answer is because he's testing you. And you will probably lose by taking that deal, and you will gain by not taking that deal. Again, obviously, these are high levels.
Right.
These are high levels. But my point is that, first of all, there was a time in history where that wasn't a high level. That was the base. That was the standard. Right. So I think
this
that we could make that standard. That it could be totally standard. You were. I'll give you an example. I spoke last night at a siyum made by BP Graphics. BP Graphics, to the non-Lakewood listeners to this, is a massive company that does a lot of printing and advertising, marketing, and shipping, and a real corporation, hundreds of employees, real deal. Every single day, the CEO and owner, Mr. Heinemann, gives a mandatory shiur where all male staff have to attend. They have to attend. They come willingly. They close in the middle of the day. They close their laptops. They leave their cubicles and their workstations, and they come to a shiur on Gemara, and they make a siyum every year. So I spoke. That is somebody who has their priorities straight, where God is in charge of the money. Who said that hishtadlus means exactly 9 to 5? He says, Mr. Heinemann, that hishtadlus is 9 to 5 minus an hour share. Why not? Who said? Hishtadlus has to be exactly what the Goyish world determined? It's totally ridiculous. Hishtadlus means doing what Hashem wants you to do. He wants you to have a shiur in the middle of your day because it's good, because it means we're injecting ruchnius into our gashmias. That isn't, I don't know if there's any other company that does that. I know there are companies that have chavrusas that come in, but this is the whole company together learning the chabura. Very impressive. There's many other things we could talk about, but that's impressive about that BP. However, I'm just saying, is it a godless or is it imuna pshuta? Hey, Hashem is in charge of your money. Do do whatever's necessary, but if whatever's necessary comes at the front, if you're leaving davening early to go to work, I'm not saying you're a kaifer, but you're still a kaifer. Because, once again, you're leaving the person
who's going to give you the money.
It makes no sense. Now, between me and you and the lamppost, it's not a philosophical that they believe. It's just, they don't really care for davening. And this is an excuse that I'm late to work. True. But that's also a problem.
Right.
It's also a problem. We don't actually care. It's not real to us. It doesn't mean anything. Which goes back to our first thing of why don't you feel attached to davening? Because you don't know what the words mean. They're Chinese. So instead of going to another class and hoping some person on Torah anytime is going to inspire you to daven, just get a really good peerish, read a book. Would it kill you to read a little bit? That's what my dad would tell me. Would it kill you to read a little bit? That's another discussion.
My dad used to tell me he should live and be well. My dad's a superstar, and he's just got appointed the chief judge of Virginia, which is pretty cool.
What does that mean? Meaning what?
Meaning he is a high-powered attorney and a massive Talmud Chacham, and then he was inaugurated as a judge. And now he gets to sit and people come in and say, you didn't pay childcare. And my dad goes, pay the childcare. And, he has to wear the black robe with the whole long frock. And I told him it was Beged Isha.
Wow.
So, but anyway, it's neither here nor there. Why was I telling you that? Oh, because my dad would say, when I was young, he would say, how was the learning today? Was learning good? My dad was really by the book and even if it wasn't learning, it was, did you learn your vocab today? Do you know what the difference between a, conjunction is and a compound word and the functions and like anything? If the teachers were teaching, then, get smart, that kind of thing. And I really didn't listen or pay attention because I could care less about a function or compound words or the Civil War or, anything they have to teach. And so I just never, knew anything when I would come home from school. And then I was a really big football fan. And my father would hear my brother and I talk about, sports. And my brother would say, Tom Brady's a great quarterback. And I would say, do you know that Aaron Rodgers can throw for 280 yards per game, has a 78% passer rating? And when there's this pass rush towards the right side, he can roll out and the projected probability is I would start lipping off as if I was like Abraham Lincoln or Einstein about football. So he'd be like, aha, you could pay attention to something. You do know something. How do you just sound like Einstein about football, but you can't even, he would say, Alavai, you could, pay, do the same thing about your football stats as you could do with Mishnay's brachas or something like that. So again, even if there's proof that most people are capable of a little bit of pushing themselves and thinking and processing. It just may be, they have to put in a little bit more time and effort to actually understand what the words mean.
100%. 100% people are massively, way more capable. We were just in Europe last week. So
that was my question. But wait, my question was, I was going to ask you in the Meet Hillel part.
Sorry.
It was going to be, of all the places that you've visited, Moscow, Tokyo, I researched you.
Oh.
Bangkok, Gibraltar, etc.
Yeah.
It's not a place, it's just etc. Which experiences have stayed with you the most and what were memorable? Also, ask him for the most fascinating person he's met this past year. So there's kind of like a question ABC, but
we were lucky to go to many countries around the world. We like exploring the world. We're lovers of life. We love the world. 3 years ago, we made the plunge in going to Asia, which is far and long and difficult to get to, especially with kids.
You brought your kids to Asia?
Yeah, sure. We brought our kids not just to Asia,
out of your
but
mind?
like all over.
How many kids do you have?
And now I have 3. At the time, we brought 2.
You brought a Duna and a double shoulder, the whole thing?
Yeah. We come prepared.
Okay. So you went to Asia.
We went to Japan and Vietnam and Thailand and Korea.
Why'd you do that? Because you love life. Because you love life.
Oh, why did I do that?
Yeah, why would you go to Korea and
So we've been to a lot of countries in Europe. We've been to a number of countries in South America.
For hack? Like
No.
Visit the world type of thing?
Yeah. Every summer we'll go to 5 countries, for example, whatever,
Wow.
So we decided, let's go to Asia. It's something new. And it totally blew us away. For one reason, basically. And that is because the last place on earth, in my opinion, where you see real, genuine, pulsing culture alive is in Asia. You go to London, you could spend a week and not meet a genuine British person. It's all immigrants from India. You go to Vancouver, there's no culture. You go to New York, you're not sure what's left and right. I guess there is a New York culture.
It used to be a little like I love New York City. Now it's mostly weed, but
it's not much.
Yeah.
You go to Europe, you land in Paris, you spend a week without meeting a French person. It's like immigrants from all over the place.
Interesting.
You land in Vietnam, you walk into the supermarket, you can't recognize a single fruit or vegetable they're eating. It's a completely different world. They don't have immigrants. There's no immigration policy. It's the culture has been preserved largely since it's been for 1,000 years.
Fascinating.
Totally fascinating. So it's almost like you don't even need to run off to see the Alps. It's you walk down the street and you're schmoozing. You go to a coffee shop and you're schmoozing with people, and it's endlessly fascinating, or at least for someone like me.
Yeah.
With regards to
where was the most interesting place that you went and the most noteworthy person that you met? It's a loaded question.
Easily, without a question. I mean, we've been to many places in the world. Easily, Japan is the most fascinating, interesting, beautiful, stunning country.
For the sushi or just
sushi is part of it. They definitely are into their fish there.
Yeah.
I think it's the combination of it's like I said, a genuine culture that's been preserved, but also it's not a third world country, which we've been to many third world countries. So a third world country in Asia is great. It's awesome. It's fun. It's amazing and stunning, but it's a third world country. So it's sort of like, okay, they're behind. Mm-hmm. Japan is basically ahead of the world in everything. Everything. I mean, like you go to Japan, you come back to America and you're like, we are so far behind those people. Yeah, they have their issues, no question. But it changes one's perspective of the whole world when you go to a culture and a country that's just nailing it in everything. I'll give you an example. The first 48 hours we were in Japan, we looked around. We could not find a single piece of garbage on the floor. Not a single bubblegum wrapper.
I just heard
nothing. Zero. I thought it was hype.
But there's no garbage cans.
Okay, that's a separate right. I get
Isn't it Tapella?
Well, that is the reason. I made a video about this.
Oh man, I feel like
Kufa, because there's no garbage cans, made people realize you can't just bring your garbage out in the streets because there's nowhere to put it. Because when you have a garbage can, so then people truck it on the outside, and then people just truck it. They stop it.
Close enough,
But if there's no garbage can, so then like, okay, what am I supposed to do? So they leave it at home, or they bring it home. It's they have a totally revolutionary way of life. The only other country that rivals, the efficiency, the cleanliness of Japan is Germany, which we were actually in a few days ago. And I mentioned it briefly in a video of mine that I made. The common denominator between those two countries, besides the fact that they're kicking the rest of the world and virtually everything. I mean, the patents, the technology that comes out. Okay, Germany got a little bit into immigrants, so it's got a little bit watered down, and some of the passions and the prides of Germany obviously got historically spat out. But when you're proud of your country, for the good and for the bad, we're not going to talk about obviously the atrocities that were committed by the German pride. No doubt. And the Japanese, there's a reason why they too got together and fought against the world. They are so immensely proud of who they are and what they stand for. And their ninjas and their emperors and their gods and their Aryan race, whatever you want to call it, is that they live for something. I will not dirty my country with throwing a wrapper on the floor. There's an innate pride. They see a tourist, they want to smile. You ask someone in the airport in Japan, where's the elevator? They don't point in some vague direction. They will walk you all 500 feet to the elevator and then bow. This is the regular hamonam. This is not the monk. This is the regular standard practice. In Germany, it's less apparent because there's less, authentic Germans. As an American,
I'd be like, why are you bowing to me? Like, bro, can you be normal? But
that's the culture. Right. The culture is, I'm proud of my country. I represent my country. It happens to me that I think that it's another aspect of Elul that is largely underlooked, and I'll prove it to you.
I don't know where you're coming from here. Let's hear it.
The only thing that the Shulchan Aruch says that one should work on during the Aseret Yimei Teshuva, out of all the things that he could have said, is one should be makbid on Pas Yisrael, even if he's not normally makbid. Now you should be makbid.
Right.
What? Out of all the things that you could have told me to be makbid on,
you should eat bread baked by a Jew.
Why is that?
What a great question. Wait, let's marinate in the question. What a good question.
It's a good question. It's in my upcoming book, but
Aser Simei Tshuva, the only thing, Rosh Hashanah is...
You could have picked Rosh Hashanah, you could pick the Shmir Sinai, you could pick anything. That's the thing you pick. So the answer that I suggested was, he's telling you to work on not just Pas Yisrael. Of course you only buy during those days from a Jewish baker. Of course. You're so proud of who you... Pride is the antidote to a depressed teshuva. You're not fixing yourself because you're flawed. You're polishing your boots because you're a soldier coming back to base. That's what you are. You're reminding yourself, you have a tafkid. The whole world spins because of me. And I may have not lived up to that the last year. And I'm coming back to the base, to the castle, to shine my boots. That is tshuva. So you better believe you should be makbid to buy your bread from a Jewish owner. That is your whole focus.
I love that. I love it. So it's only going to be bed by a breaker. I just love that.
Yeah, that's the idea. So that idea stuck out at me when I was in Japan and in Germany. I was like, they have that pride. Their pride went way overboard, no question. Kamikaze pilots, it's nuts. It's insane. You're going to kill yourself. You're going to fly a plane into a boat for the sake of your country. It's nuts. But the pride exists. And we should learn from that.
You know, on Tisha B'Av, Rav Gamliel's son and daughter were put into a room by their evil overlords and forced to cohabit, and they both cried and stayed away and didn't know who they were with. And the story is that they all died. And when the kinna, the lamentation, is that the word for kinna? This is about the dirge. I think that's what Hirsch calls it. The dirge in Hirschian philosophy. They call it, he became a whole philosophy anyway. If you actually medayik the kinna, it doesn't say that they didn't do the Aveira because they're Jewish and it's an Aveira to do this. They said, how can me, the daughter of Rav Gamliel, do this? How can I, who's the son of Rav Gamliel? They had such a passion in where they came from, that their tati is Rav Gamliel and that they're Jewish, that how could I possibly do such a thing? It's nothing to do with schar and onish for them. It's like it's Stoltz, is that the word?
Right.
You tell stories? Are you a storyteller? Can you tell us some stories?
We do it all.
Okay.
We do it all.
You're like the Swiss Army knife, the Shohei Ohtani of... For those who don't know who that is, he's Japanese. Is Japanese come full circle? Japanese baseball player. You don't know who Shohei Ohtani is?
Of course I do.
Okay, I just don't know.
Of course.
So tell us a story that'll make us exciting, and we're going to end shortly here because it's late and Ma'ariv has to happen, and because if I just continue to get caught up in what you're saying, I could go until the morning, and then it's not going to be good for Shachris or for my job and then all that. So we'll have to end here shortly, but tell us your go-to Elul story that'll fire me up and make me want to run through a brick wall to repent.
Here's 1.5 stories. I have like literally
Just
thousands.
give us one. Give us one. No, come on. There's one. There's no. If I have to ask for like a short, like, say a Devar Torah right now. Like I have like a go-to, like that's something I've said like 4 times, and like
I see.
It's about schar.
If typically what you say is mediocre, and you have your one good thing, so then you have your one good thing. But if they're all good,
well, give us the best.
Well, I'll tell you this.
You sound like Rabbi Pesach Krohn. He says stuff like that. Like he's just like, what do you mean? Each story is its own.
It's not that I cherish it. It's that I think they're all
great.
Yeah, they're all good. They all have their place, and they all have their
right. This one I was just talking about this, where people make these conglomerations or these compilations of like the best Torah ideas, and someone's saying like, how could you make a compilation and say like, I'm picking the best 20 Orach Chaim comments? Like who are you, and why have you decided that these are the best? They're all, anyway, yeah.
There's so many I could say,
but you gotta tell us one that it could even be radical or it could be different, but it should be empowering and it should be happy, and it shouldn't be a mashal about a king who has a daughter.
So here's a story for you. When I was in Princeton, it's
such a good way to start a story. I was in Princeton,
the first class that I gave, I bring a whole bunch of chicken and food. And we have our apartment set up on campus, and the students pile in. And very few students are taking food. Either they don't eat, or they already ate, or they don't have stomachs. I don't know. They weren't eating. 5 minutes in, walked Noah. Noah was a 6'5" Princeton student who was on the rowing team. I suspect that he got a scholarship to be on the rowing team. In the Ivy League world, rowing is the football. And I'm like, great. He is going to polish off this chicken that I got. He doesn't take one bite. Not even one. So I told him, I'm like, bro.
Maybe it was spoiled.
Noah. No, how would he know? He didn't take one bite.
Maybe it smelled bad. Okay, yeah.
I said, Noah, what's going on? You don't have one piece of chicken? He says, Rabbi, you have to understand. I'm on the rowing team. Before every single match, the coach weighs us. If we're a pound overweight, we're slowing down the boat. I will not slow down my boat. And this class was an Elul immediately, because my brain works in terms of emotional.
You put it in a notebook.
Do we think of that of ourselves? Do we think, are we slowing or quickening the boat? Are we on a boat? Are we anywhere near a boat? You could split Klal Yisrael into two camps. There's the people part of the problem, and there's the people part of the solution. I know it's way oversimplifying, but it's the truth. You either consider yourself part of the solution, or you're part of the problem.
All right.
It's basically, you're either promoting God's light in the world, or you're not.
Or you're kind of just...
And I think it's very empowering. The Sfas Emes says this beferish. The central theme of teshuva is returning to your original tafkid and doing it with pride, remembering you were placed here for a reason. You were on a boat. 1 pound overweight, you're slowing down the boat. 1 pound underweight, you're quickening the boat. And it's, I think, a great empowering idea that people could have during Elul is that you're here for a reason. Just because you're not a Rosh Hashiva, just because you're not a Rav, just because you're a guy who works in an office, doesn't mean anything. In fact, I'll leave you with this because this is great. The tzaddikim of yesteryear sum up Elul as Hamelech Basada.
The king is in the field.
It's a fascinating way of summing up Elul. What in the world is the king doing in the field? Why is he not in the base medrash? You want to come?
Why is the king in the base medrash?
If you want to come see Klal Yisrael,
he needs to learn more Musar
in our spiritual state. So come to the seminaries, come to the Beis Yaakov, come to elementary school. What are you doing in the field? The answer is, I'm coming to your field, to your office, because I want to see the real you. I want to see the Adam Nicker Bekisai. I want to see who you are. I want to see, are you learning a little bit? Are you makbid on what you look at? Or do you justify everything you do because you're working? So therefore everything's good. Because you're not a Rosh Hashiva Mamela, become a gadol in whatever you do. You're working, become a gadol in honesty. Become a gadol in Bikur Chaylim. You're a woman, become a gadol in being patient with your kids. Why not? Why do we limit godless to if you have a yeshiva, then you're a gadol? If you're a rebbe, then you're a gadol. Well, become a gadol in patience. Why not? If you really believe you're on a boat helping Klal Yisrael carry Hashem's banner in this world, so then I will become a gadol in my thing, in my sadeh.
I couldn't love it more. I can't love it, because my last thing that I was going to close with was that this is a very different Elul for me. I'm 29 years old, and I spent 5.5 years in full-time Torah study, immersed in the Yam HaTalmud. My challenges with business and ethics were nothing, and my entire Elul Avoda was, can I learn and dive in more and be clearer in my learning and write better shtickles of Torah, shtiglach Torah? Can I be a bigger lamdin? Can I understand the shir better? Can I learn with my chavrusa better? So when I came all of a sudden, now I'm a broker of real estate, 757-679-4497, Imperial, New Jersey. But now it's wait a second. I'm listening to Elul Shiurim, and it's all much about Torah and tefillah. But I mean, I'm on a good day, I'm doing show-ins the whole afternoon. I'm on the phone in the morning trying to prospect new clients, talking to sellers that want too much money for their buildings. I'm like, how am I supposed to do Elul here? I feel like a nebuch. I feel like I'm not doing Elul. The king is in the field. You know, the king is also in Imperial Real Estate. And you know what? With this in mind, when I'm on the honesty that I have to transact with, the godless, you know what you empowered me to think like right now? That 15-minute mincha in the middle of my day is now the most important part of my day. And I can become a gadol in that 15 minutes is crossed off and it's focused because the king's in the field.
Right.
I love that.
Right.
So what do we have? If we're going to summarize our episode, we met you. We talked a lot about, your endeavors, but then finally we got into the kishkas and we learned all about what Elul's about, and we told stories, and we learned about being confident in being a Jewish, and we heard that you need to be more maybe an Elul into asay tov and not just sur meira. It's not scary, and we learned about being honest and taking notes and actually writing down what needs to be needs to be done, and we learned about eating pas Yisrael. Rav Friedman, he summarizes the whole thing at the end. I can't do what he does, but I'm trying to organize what I learned with you here tonight. And we learned that don't slow the boat down. And we also learned that the king's in the field. And he's at your brokerage, and he's at your base medrash, and he's at your house, and he's in your children's room, and he's with you when you're on the phone. And everyone should look forward to the new Mo'adim on Fire Sevarim coming out. They should go and they should buy Parsha on Fire from their local Jewish bookstore. They should hire you and find your information online so that you can come and empower the people to be good servants of God. And I thank you for this last hour and a half for empowering us to be better servants of Hashem.
Pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Rabbi Eisenberg.